said it, and he's right.
Did the Vietnam War not mean shit? I mean, in retrospect.
Totally.
Yeah. And Iraq is the same sort of situation.
Absolutely, all of it. Well, I was teaching at Harvard in 2004 when McNamara come through.
Right.
Well, they've now admitted the Gulf of Tonkin incident never happened.
Right.
Well, that's the catalyst that got us in the war. They said the North Vietnamese fired at 2 of our ships. It's a declaration of war. So that the entire war was based upon that lie.
So you would take us right out of Iraq if there was
Absolutely.
Would you run for president?
Have you read my book, Howard?
No.
Okay, well, I suggest go read the epilogue, because what I did in the book is I wrote factual all the way till the epilogue.
Right.
And then without telling the reader, I went to fiction. And I make a fictitious run for the presidency, and I'm assassinated. Because I believe in my heart, Howard, that if an independent like me had a shot to do it, and it looked like I was going to win,
someone would get you. Do you worry about...
Does that bother you when you say about this country?
Not anymore.
It doesn't bother you?
I don't believe 9/11 anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, you've said that.
About that.
You've said that.
Well, you say I live in Mexico now. I mean, do you enjoy living outside of the United States?
Yes, because it gives you a new perception of the United States. It gives you one from the outside looking in as opposed to the inside looking out. And I think if hypothetically we could get everyone in this country to have that opportunity, I think you'd see a change in the United States for the better. We're arrogant, and we have an arrogance about us that needs to disappear. Because you know what the most popular shirt way down in Mexico is with all the little kids?
What is it?
It's a picture of George Bush on a T-shirt, and it says "Weapon of Mass Destruction."
Yeah, we've got a real shitty image around the world.
And right now, the rest of the world is fearful that if they cross the United States, we'll attack them.
It's because of Iraq.
Yeah.
Because
that's
Afghanistan, everyone was with us.
Do you want to know why I hate Iraq so much? Because they destroyed my belief in America. My mother and father are both World War II veterans. As I said, my brother and I are Vietnam veterans. And I never believed that my country would line up our military at the border of another sovereign nation without being asked. We would invade that nation, overthrow its government, and occupy it. That's what the Nazis did. That's what the communists did. Now we've done it.
Why do you think Bush did it? Do you think just for oil, or do you think because he was pissed off that Saddam Hussein was, hanging out with his father and going to war with him?
I think that it falls to, have you followed that thing and read about that thing in '92 during Bush 1? There was a document in a think tank that they had, the Center for the American Experience. I forget what they called, something or other name they had. Well, it was made up of Jeb Bush, Dick Cheney, Wolfowitz, Rumsfeld, the whole cast of characters.
Same guys.
Same guys. And in '92, they were posed to go out and gather information and come forward with recommendations on how do we make the United States the sole superpower of the world.
Wow.
And their recommendations was one of them controlling Middle Eastern oil. Because China and India are becoming industrialized. If you control Middle Eastern oil, you control them. Because of the oil factor.
And by the way,
now, the part that gets to me is that at the end in their summation, they list all the things required, but then they say right there, it'll take many, many years to implement this unless a Pearl Harbor type of event were to occur.
And that happened.
That would be in
9 years later, a Pearl Harbor, when you had Bill Clinton then. The problem was they were Bush 1, Clinton 1 then. So there was an 8-year hiatus, and then these jokers came in 2000, and a year later, we had a Pearl Harbor type of event.
So what do you think?
I find that a little bit more than coincidental.
Yeah. So are you one of those guys that advocates that Bush should be put on trial for this?
Not yet. But I think that the problem I have, Howard, is I was a member of UDT 12 for 3 years and SEAL Team 1 for 2. Now, do you know what UDT means?
No.
Underwater Demolition Team.
Go ahead.
In other words, I was trained by the best demo men this country has to blow things up.
Right.
How could those buildings fall at the rate of gravity with no resistance? They fell as fast as a billiard ball in a vacuum. How could there be no resistance, Howard?
So you really feel the government?
Well, how did Building 7 fall? 5 hours later, implodes into its own footprint. And I've talked this over with some of my teammates, and we all agree. There had to be something that assisted all of that. They could not come down like that.
So do you have an exact scenario of what you think happened?
No, I don't.
But I mean, right, you just think...
No, I don't.
Right.
All I'm doing... Well, there's more questions that are unanswered. Like, did you know today, and you can go to the website, the Department of Justice has never charged Osama bin Laden.
Right.
Wow.
Now, shouldn't he be indicted? We went to war. They told us he was the cause.
He admitted to it.
No, he did not.
He never admitted to it.
He first went on Al Jazeera and said he had nothing to do with it. That tape they sent, you got to read that. That's a joke. He's talking about totally other things. All of a sudden, there's a garble mess. He comes back and explains the buildings will melt and collapse, just what they told us, and then it goes back to a different subject. It's bogus.
So you think he's the poster child, the one you blame for everything?
I think he's dead today. I don't even think he's alive. Because I think he is the modern Lee Harvey Oswald.
You think that they sort of keep his image out there, keep him alive in our minds, so that we have an enemy.
A
boogeyman.
We got the boogeyman out there. See, for many years it was communism, then it was the war on drugs, now it's the war on terror. All through our life we've had to have a boogeyman. And you know what's interesting about the communist situation? When I go to L.A. now, I get a lot of car drivers who happen to be Russian. For some reason, they've migrated here. And they're about my age, and I've talked to these guys, and I say, tell me something. During the Cold War, what were you being told? And they tell me, to a person, they all say, we were being told we had to stop the capitalist imperialists from taking over the world. Well, Howard, what were we being told? We have to stop the communists from taking over the world.
Right.
Do you think they got together?
Let me ask
and they
you
said,
this,
we'll tell our people this, you tell your people that, and we'll have this hatred and conflict for 40 years that we can all deal with.
So here's the thing I don't understand.
Okay.
So here we're in Iraq now, and we have control of their oil. True? I mean, we're running the show over there.
I would think so.
But it seems like things are out of control anyway, so the plan isn't working all that well. We're going to have to leave Iraq.
But it's probably, they probably also said in that report it's going to take many, many years to get this whole situation under control.
Well, let's remember, though, our oil companies now are in control of their oil.
Yeah. But,
so do you think the plan was successful?
Region.
Well, remember this now, because remember now, we had sanctions against Iraq for 15 years. So Iraq is like the second or third potential oil country in the world.
Yeah.
Well, it's been held back, so we have to buy from the Saudis. Now, tell me, and I always love this, you know how Republicans are so anti-gay?
Yeah.
Right? What looks more gay than when George Bush comes walking out with some Arab in sheets holding hands, skipping out to talk?
They kiss.
I don't know, but I've never seen that.
Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Now, what looks more gay than that?
I cannot imagine.
I can tell you this, Howard. If I were the president, you'd never see that from me. And I'm not anti-gay.
I know you're not. I can't imagine, though. I've listened to what you said, though, and I got to tell you something. I would have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that George Bush, who certainly is not the best president in the world, I do not believe that he would be that evil to attack his own country, to be involved in an attack on his own country on a building. I don't believe that of the man.
Well,
I honestly don't.
Okay, well, let me read this for you a moment, Howard.
Okay.
I got something to read, and I'm going to ask you who said it.
Okay.
And tell me if it does not apply to the United States since 9/11.
All right, go ahead.
Here we go. This is a quote. Naturally, the common people don't want war, but after all, it is the leaders of a country who determine the policy, and it is always a simple matter to drag people along, whether it's a democracy or a fascist dictatorship, parliament or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people always can be brought to the bidding of the leaders. This is easy. All you have to do is tell them they're being attacked, and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger.
I know who said it.
Hitler said it.
No.
Dick Cheney.
Closer. No, actually, you're close, Howard. It was Hermann Göring.
All right, there you
The
go.
Nazi.
Right.
Okay, now have we not been following Nazi philosophy? What have they been telling us? Oh, if you're unpatriotic, if you don't support the war, all you people against the war are harming the country. So they're taking a view from a Nazi. Yet Thomas Jefferson, one of his most famous quotes was, "Dissension is the greatest form of patriotism."
That's true.
Yeah.